Good afternoon. We have with us today Cecilio, who is a person apparently with creative adaptive thinking. So, Cecilio, thank you for showing up today. I know there was a lot
Thanks
of
for having
things
me.
going on, plus all the Easter events.
Right.
So, I appreciate your time. I wanted to introduce you. I just met you, like I said, for a few minutes. Can you tell me a little bit about you? I know you come from another state. How long ago did you come to California?
Well, I'm from here, from California,
Oh, you
and
are.
yes, and thanks for having me. I'm from Southern California, is what it is. So
Ah,
Pasadena is where I was born and grew up. Went to high school in Ontario, and then I found my way here in the Bay Area. I went to Sacramento State. I went there for college, and I've stayed here ever since. So
Ontario, where?
Ontario and Southern California,
Oh,
not Canada.
not
Yeah,
Canada.
not Canada.
Okay, okay, Ontario Southern. Is it so? Yeah. So basically, you came here and you started a business
Right.
because maybe you like it better here, right? Something like that.
Well, yeah, I really enjoy the Bay Area. People are highly intelligent. They're very nice. They're very
There's a mix
approachable
of
on the
people.
street. Yeah, they're very mix, a good mix and of demographics. So for me, it was a good place to be able to mix with different entrepreneurs, different people who need help, who need our services. So it's a good
Okay.
area.
Yeah, because that was the first time I met you at Network After Work.
Yes.
I go there regularly because there's a variety of people you can meet there, right?
Right.
You notice that.
That was my first time at that
That
place.
was your first time?
Yes.
Oh, I've been going for 3, 4 years now.
Okay.
But usually when they started, it was 500. Now they cut it down to 350 because out of 350, usually 250 show up.
Okay.
But basically, it's a little bit more livable now. It was too crowded in the past. But basically, I'm glad I met you because when you go to a networking event, usually you meet a few people. You don't meet everybody. So I'm glad that I bumped into you.
Well, likewise. Thank you.
So you started Creative Adaptive Thinking. Is that a marketing company?
No, it's we're a project management company. But thank you for recognizing some of the design in our name, if you will.
Oh,
Creative adaptive thinking is this. It's sort of the idea that we want to create solutions and we want to adapt your processes into competitive advantages and bottom line gains. And so that's the premise of our company. So we do sort of three things. We help people get certified in project management if they want. So
oh, really?
yes.
Okay.
So if you want a credential in the PMP credential, or you want to learn Agile, or maybe Lean Six Sigma or Six Sigma, we can get you certified. We're registered education providers there.
No, because in my building, every other week there's a group of 20 people that come and get trained to be certified for project management, but they are
Okay.
sent by companies. But it's not my business, it's just they come in our building
Okay.
because I'm in a building where there are many businesses.
Uh huh.
But that's the idea. People get certified in 4 days, right?
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So you did one of those training yourself?
Yeah, I conduct those trainings a couple times a month in San Francisco. There's a pretty high demand, and
Yeah.
that's just for PMP. We also do it a few times for Agile.
Oh.
Not as high demand now, but I think in the future there's definitely a
So
creeping
you're
demand for that.
certified to train other people.
Correct.
Oh, that's
Correct.
interesting. That's interesting. So what do you teach them in these 4 days?
Oh goodness.
A lot.
Yeah, we start with the basics of what is project management and
Okay.
the standard in terms of the ANSI standard. So you initiate a project,
Yeah.
and then you plan it out.
Yeah.
You would then go and execute. You start doing the work. You're sort of monitoring and controlling throughout, and you close the project. So, from the moment you sign a charter or a contract, or
Okay.
you're going to do some work for somebody or internally, to the moment that you've paid your last contractor and you've negotiated that final settlement price,
Okay.
you're sort of, looking at variance analysis. So we had a plan. Something happened on the project. There's a delta between the two.
Yeah.
And then why? And do we need to take corrective or preventative actions? And then from there, we would forecast out, right, and sort of say, this is what we think the project will look like a week from now, a month, a year from now.
Okay.
And
And the
so that's
manager
monitoring
and the
controlling.
manager can oversee that.
Yeah, and it also depends on what organization type you're in, right? If you're sort of in a functional organization, usually you may not have the authority as a project manager. You're maybe just tracking the budget. You don't own the budget. You don't own resources. You're sort of just tracking, and you're capturing metrics. Versus on the project side, maybe you're a Gensler, or let's say a construction company, and you're the general contractor, and you've subbed out work to another company to do the plumbing, and one company to do the electrical, and another company to do all the audio video. right? And so in that sense, yeah, you have more level of authority with regards to the budget and the resources, etc. So
Okay, but what is project management? What are the prerequisites? I never did project management. Is there a prerequisite?
well, to manage a project, there isn't a prereq, but to become a PMP,
Yeah.
to hold that credential, you would
Yeah.
need 4,500 hours and
Wow.
3 months.
4,500? Are you kidding me?
4,500 hours. It's about 2.5 years if you're working full time as a project manager, maybe 40, 50, 60 hours a week, 2.5 years.
And then they take your course.
Yeah, and so you would, well, you can take the course prior to that and maybe apply for what they call the CAPM, the Certified Associate Project
Oh,
Manager.
the
So it's one
associate
level.
first.
Yes, you can do that if you don't have the
The
level of hours,
prerequisite?
yeah. So the prerequisite would be 4,500 hours, 3 years of project management experience within the last 8. If you hold a bachelor's, if you don't hold a bachelor's, then 7,500 hours and 5 years of project experience that you could go back within the last
Really?
8 years.
It's very demanding.
Yeah, somewhat.
Did you do all that yourself?
Well, yeah, I actually hold the credential. I hold the Agile credential and a Lean
You
Six
had
Sigma
the
credential.
4,500 hours yourself?
Yes, prior to getting my credential several years ago. So that was several
Wow.
years ago when I actually held the
So
sat for
that's
the
why
exam
you have
myself.
enough experience to teach it.
Right. And not just it's not just that, but part of it is well, I've spent time working with, let's say, Contra Costa County, or I've done software development with a company called NTT, a huge Japanese telco. I've done IT infrastructure for Polycom, if anybody's used the triangular speakerphones that they've had. I've worked the Special Olympics. I've helped a guy in the NFL build a gym. So I have a
Wow,
pretty
you
broad
have
experience, and I help bring those experiences to people so they can understand the material better.
Oh, yeah, you can send me your resume because where I work, IT, maybe they might be interested. But we'll talk about it later, I guess.
Oh, well, absolutely. Thank you.
So since they have 4,500 hours before they go to you, in these 4 days, what would they do? They will get like a little bit more of a certification.
You can think of it like this. Most project managers that come in, maybe they know how to use a screwdriver, a Phillips and a flathead, and maybe a hammer as well.
Okay.
Maybe a handsaw.
Yeah.
And the PMP, the boot camp, at least is meant to teach you how to pass the exam, not necessarily how to become a better project manager. So we'll expose you to tools. So now you'll have a table saw, and you'll have maybe a laser line level, and you'll have a drill. But you may not necessarily know how to use those tools yet. You'll have all these tools, these new tools, but you may not know how to use it. And that's what most people experience coming in. So I try to bring examples from different industries that can allow them to sort of mentally see themselves using these tools when they go along. That way they can bring something back immediately to their company, in addition to, I know this knowledge and I can pass the exam and hold the certification. I'll tell you, holding the cert doesn't make you a better project manager.
No?
No.
Okay, it's experience.
Yes, it's experience, and then it's the willingness to become a practitioner and sort of try to use the tools within your project. Right? It's
Okay.
one thing to know the knowledge, but if you don't try to use it, if you don't implement it into your work, well then it's, the knowledge is just there. So you have to
Okay.
apply it.
So what's different from creative adaptive to maybe other companies who train company employees to be certified for project manager? Because I'm sure there's a little bit add-on that you do.
Right. I would say right now the difference is me.
Oh,
and,
okay.
and I can
your
say that
your
from
personal experience.
Right. My personal experience, my experience teaching. In a different profession, I was a teacher for 6 years as well. So
Okay.
I have experience teaching adults, teaching students with disabilities, teaching general education, and so I'm able to bring that experience combined with project management experience,
Okay.
combined with a broad knowledge base in different industry verticals, and then from that, it really helps the students out. That's one of the main feedbacks that I get from the different students that come in, is that I'm sort of able to take this complex material and break it down into a way that's manageable for them to understand. So.
Wow. And you train one-on-one or you train companies, groups?
So both. So both. So one of the things that we do is the boot camps. We will do workshops for companies,
For companies,
and we'll
okay.
also just run projects in general for companies. But if we're doing the boot camps, there's sort of two ways. One is
You contact the
you can
company and they send a few people.
yeah. So that's usually what happens. I'll hold a class, and I can fit about 18 students here in San Francisco. In other
Okay.
locations, it may be 25, 30. I've done as much as 45 at a time.
Yeah.
And then you'll get, maybe 4 or 5 people from a company here and there, and eventually you'll get about 45 students that come in on a 4-day.
That could be even more. Okay.
Yeah, right. And sometimes you can get 10 or 12 people from one company at a time within your group of 45. Also we can go to you. So I've
You can
been
go on site.
Right.
Oh yeah, the group that come to our building is like 15 people maybe.
Okay.
So and they are sent by their company to get certified. But I'm not the one running it. I just see them periodically come to our building.
Okay.
So what's so creative about it? Well, there must be a reason to have put the word creative in there, right?
Right. The creative really comes from the idea that there's different approaches. There's always different methodologies that you can sort of employ to have success.
It's not the same.
It's not the same, and so can you sort of adapt? One of the mottos that we have is be a chameleon. If you're within a certain industry vertical, well then figure out how to mesh what you're doing to blend with what's going to work best. Take your past experiences, and that's sort of what we do. It's we'll take a methodology, but we might pull from a few other methodologies and say, based on your scenario, it's better for you to use these 3 different aspects, and we'll keep 7. We're still going to have 10 overall, but we're going to get rid of these 3 from the original and maybe pull 3 from different areas that match what you do. That's going to find some synergy with your company.
Okay. And so when you call, let's say you call a company that's not a software company, it's different. So you'll talk to them differently than if you talk to a software company, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they don't have the same needs.
Right. I mean, if it's a software development company, then we're probably talking agile. And we're talking more so, okay, maybe we have a roadmap of a list of requirements.
Different industries,
right?
okay.
And based on, well, not industries, but if we're building software, it's for a need. It's you want to do something, right?
Okay.
As a user, you want to be able to do something so that you can accomplish something, or make life easier.
Or like Salesforce.com, you work with those?
I've done Salesforce implementations as a project manager. Yes, I've used it as a user as well.
So you train the group on how to use Salesforce?
No, not necessarily train the group how to use it, but if a company wants to say, let's implement Salesforce into our systems. Let's use Salesforce as a customer retention tool. So anytime we have visitors that come in, we'll track them in Salesforce. Are we following up with emails to ensure that we're getting sales from those customers, or to ensure that we're constantly providing feedback or getting feedback from those customers? Salesforce is a good customer retention tool. It also has some workflows built into it, so that, let's say, if I want to make a change to a project or change to a product or a document and I need your approval, well, then I can load it into Salesforce, and as easy as click a button, it'll notify you of what that change is, and you'll be able to see what it is and make your determination and put some comments in and hit a button, and it'll notify me that you
there's so many companies who work to add on something to Salesforce.
Right, they'll use
like
it.
Integration, analytics. So there's like dozens of them, more than that, because every
Dozens
2 weeks,
tens of thousands.
every
yes.
2 weeks I go to, every 2 months I go to a meetup where there's 2 presenters who are presenting Salesforce integration and analytics, and they all have different ideas on what to add to Salesforce.
Right.
And it's incredible the creativity and the variety of people who have ideas on how to add on to that. So you have used yourself that software, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and yeah, I use it myself, but I don't know all the other apps. Some are big, some are small,
Right.
but it's amazing. This company has blown out of proportion. It's huge.
The Force.com. Yeah, they're building a nice tower there on.
Did you see
Mission
that?
Street.
Oh yeah, you did see. Okay, how can you miss it, right?
Right.
So you do come to the city occasionally.
Yes, I do. My most of my courses are taught here in the city.
Okay, so what do you use, like the Regis? Or
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's where I am, at Regis.
Okay, I was gonna say. In fact, I think I saw you.
At Regis.
Yes, at the Regis Suite. And I feel like maybe the class that you're referring to is the class that I teach.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, because I'm on the one at One Market on the 36th
Okay,
floor.
we're in the same building. Imagine that. Are you on the 36th floor?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the building that's in the corner there. So I did see you.
Oh, you are
Thought
in
I
the
saw you.
building, the
Yes.
55 Spear?
Yes.
Oh my God, we're in the same
We're in
building.
the same building. I think you're referring to my class.
Okay, so you go there only every 2 months or every 2 weeks, I mean?
Yeah, about every 2 weeks, a couple times a
Oh,
month.
you
There's a
just
higher
ru-
demand in
oh,
San
you rent
Francisco.
the meeting rooms there.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, it's a very nice space with the Bay Bridge.
Yes.
I'm
Everybody
there.
wants they want to be able to see that view all the time.
Yeah, I go there every day. So that's good. Next time come see me.
I will. Where's your room?
3632.
3632. Okay.
Yeah, that's where the Kelco company is, and that's where I go.
Do you know where the parrot company used to be? The drones. They used to
Oh,
make the drones.
yes,
Yes.
they moved that 165 mission.
A
They
couple
just
weeks ago, right?
Yeah, no, they moved last week
Or last
completely
week.
because they were waiting for the furniture. Some of them moved 2 weeks ago,
That's right.
and some finally by last Friday they all moved out.
So I'm in the corner room. There.
You are there?
Yes. So
Oh
you
my
were
God.
referring to my class, Small World.
Yeah, but you don't go there every day, do you?
No. Monday through Thursday. It's 4 days. So Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. When they come, it's kind of busy in the kitchen. So this is a small world, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God, I didn't know you're the one teaching it.
Yes, that's me. Okay.
That's you. Wow, awesome, awesome. So you do yourself your outreach to companies to invite them to your class?
Yes. So I'll reach out to different companies. Everything started with some of the coworkers that I had in the past. So some of the past companies I've worked with.
Oh, you know them already.
And they may say, "Hey, come and help us," because they know the work that I did when I was there, and so
that's
that's a part
good.
of it. And then
Yeah.
the other part of it has just been word of mouth. So people that have come in and have taken the course, they've recommended others, and so I'm starting to see a lot of that.
So you have been here at least a year.
Not in San Francisco. Since September of last
Since
year.
September, okay.
Yeah.
So so like 9 months.
Yes,
Oh,
about
something like that.
six,
7 months. Oh, you have done good if you have been here only so recently.
Yes. Yeah, the city's been good. The Bay Area's been very good to me.
Oh, thank you, thank God. So what you're interested in is medium and large companies. You're not interested in mom and pop shops
Well, that's not
because
true.
you need groups, right?
That's not necessarily true. Running the boot camps is just a part of
Your
what we
business?
do. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
what's the
side
other
of it-
part?
The other two parts. There's three things we do. The second part is we'll do workshops. So we will go to a mom and pop shop or
Really?
a large company, and we'll do a workshop. And we'll work with, let's say, the executives or leadership or senior managers at a company.
So two people at a time is okay.
Yeah, two people. A lot of times it's between 5 and 7.
We'll
get 5 and
so small
7.
companies are okay.
Yeah, small companies are okay too. They need help as well.
That's true. That's true. So, but in order to gather 15 people, you need a larger company. But or at least a medium company.
Well, you may be still thinking that I'm doing a boot camp there, but it's not necessarily a boot camp. So let's say with a small company, we may come in and you may have some processes now, and you may say, hey, let's say it's a restaurant, and our average time to seat a customer and provide them with their food is, let's say, 17 minutes, and we want to drive that down to 14 minutes. How do we do that?
Oh.
And so with that, then we'll come in and we'll say, well, here's your current state. And a lot of times they don't have that. So we'll have to map out their business processes. We'll flow it out for them. And then we'll say, okay, what's your current state? What's your desired state? So you have a current state, a desired state. How do we move you from current to desired?
Oh.
And so then we'll go there and we'll look at your processes. Is there waste in your processes? Are there redundancies? Can we reorder your processes and figure it out? Can we introduce technology? And if we do that, well, then what happens? A lot of times you introduce technology to solve a problem, but then your problem only shifts downstream a couple processes, and so you don't realize it. So we look out for those things, and we want to make sure that we take a holistic approach and look at everything from all the different vantages of your business. And
Oh.
and so it's not just for the cert, it's also to then come in and help a company who maybe they're not interested in the certification, but they're interested in the knowledge and they want to actually apply it now. And so we can do that as well.
Okay, advise them on different things to implement in their companies.
Right.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
process improvement is sort of the industry term that folks will use.
Yeah, it's funny. When I started seeing this group comes on the 36th floor, I said, "Who is doing this?" And I never could pinpoint who's doing it. Now I know. It's such.
I'm always in the room. That's why I don't get to come out.
Oh, you
At
don't
breaks,
go to the
people
kitchen.
have questions, and
Oh, you go in the
lunchtime,
kitchen.
you know,
Ye-
people want to
Oh,
talk and they have questions. So I'm there all day. You know, my whole goal is to sort of move the field of project management forward. You know,
ah,
there's not very many places that you can get a bachelor's degree in project management. You can only get a master's degree, and you can get certificates. Let's say Stanford and Berkeley.
yeah.
Here, they offer certificates, and I believe Stanford has an actual master's program that you
Of
can get a master's in project management.
really?
But beyond that, you know, there's not bachelor's degrees. We don't see it being taught in the schools.
Not
So.
yet because it's on the job training kind of thing.
Right. Well, it's still project management's in its infancy. You know, if you were to ask people 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what is project management, they wouldn't know. And there's a number of people today that still don't quite understand all what project management is. So, sort of the reason that's what sort of drives me to do this, to help people sort of attain this knowledge and sort of get better, is because eventually I want project management to be a field that, you know, is taken very seriously. I mean, it is at certain companies that value it, but certain companies still don't, and they still don't understand how important it is to sort of have someone who has soft skills that can speak the financial talk with, let's say, the CFO, but then provide the business value to the CEO, but then also be able to speak the technical part with some of the architects and the designers. You know, be able to work with the vendors and the contracts and knows the legal side of it. You know, is able to galvanize a team and you know, work with difficult individuals and push the team forward. That's sort of, you know, what project management is about. And you know, my goal is to be one of those people that sort of helps push this industry forward. It helps, you know, children desire to want to be project managers. You know, let's fit it into that the STEM that we're talking about, the science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. You know, project management is the culmination of those 4 areas, and I think it's important, and so that's my goal.
Is it better to teach than be one yourself?
Wow, that's an interesting question. You know, I do like to run projects.
Yeah.
You know, so I do
So you
like
can
to
do
help
both?
companies. Yeah, I do both.
Oh,
So-
you do both.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's helpful. It's helpful for me to stay current in the industry,
Oh,
see
okay.
what the practices are, so I know what challenges people are facing when they come in to see me for the credential, and I already have an idea of what they're facing and what they're up against.
Oh, that's good. You can teach it and implement it. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
And when you charge a group, I mean, I don't want to get into numbers or details, but do you charge per person or per group?
It all depends. You know, if
What
there's an
what you
individual
negotiate
price.
with the company?
Right, and maybe a company comes in and there may just be a flat fee to work
Oh,
with their
for
entire
all
company.
of them.
And
Oh, okay.
some companies say, hey, we want you to come in, and it maybe not be for the credential, but it's like, let's say, a workshop.
Just
and they
tell
may
them
do
what to
hourly.
do.
Yeah, so we're very flexible. Very
Okay.
flexible.
And adaptive thinking means to help them think better about the project?
Think differently.
Think
To
differently.
think creatively.
They got to adapt their thinking to the project.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
It's sort of the idea of let's adapt where your business is headed,
Yeah.
what your vision is.
Yeah.
Hopefully those 2 things match, but if they
Yeah.
don't, well, then let's adapt them so that we can get them to converge.
Oh.
All right, let's
Because
figure
there's
out the
sometimes
processes as
different
well.
departments in the company, and sometimes there's 2 groups working on the same thing
Right.
when it shouldn't be, right? It should be, they should merge actually, and
Right.
and then another group work on something else. So you analyze what's going on in the company and tell them, hey, something's wrong here.
Right.
Okay, so, yeah, I know. Sometimes
It's very common.
it's very common.
Down to documents, down to companies where 2 people are working on a document, the
Yeah.
same document with
Yeah.
a different name,
and it
or
shouldn't be.
different documents with the same name.
Wow.
So it's
And
a
then
very common thing.
it's like they're paying 2 people for the same thing,
Right.
for the same project, but they might get 2 different results
Right.
from 2 different minds.
Now here's an interesting concept. There are times where you want to do that. Let's say in software development, there's a process called pair development,
Oh,
where you would
it's
have
on
2
purpose.
developers, yeah,
On
and
purpose.
you would have one person coding, and then the next person would pass the
See which
keyboard.
one is better.
And not which one is better. They're not coding at the same time.
Okay.
They're going back and forth. And you sort of would think, well, that's counterintuitive. I'm paying 2 people to do one job,
Yeah.
but the error rate is much less. The defect rate is much less. The quality of work is higher.
Because you can merge it.
Well, not necessarily merging, but you have one person who's sort of performing quality assurance and quality control at the same time. They're making sure the other person is following the right processes,
Okay.
and they're ensuring that the product is going to be tested and inspected correctly. That's the control side of it.
And then another person does the same thing.
Yeah, back and forth.
And then they meet together with the superior and tell them what they found out.
It could be a superior, it could just be another team member.
Manager.
Yeah, it could be a manager, but yeah, absolutely.
And they all give their feedback.
Yeah, you would get feedback at the end once you've built it. Once you've built a component or a package or a piece of it, yeah, and then you would
Who
fit
decide
it in
which one of the two is better? The upper management?
well, we like to look at the team.
Oh, it's a team
Yeah,
effort.
we like to see how the team is doing, and then
Okay.
the individual effort is just a part of the team. So,
Okay.
right, the team effort is a function of individuals. So if there's an individual that's not doing well, it may be not because that individual isn't trying hard enough.
Okay.
Maybe we haven't thought about that particular individual's skill set, and if we
Yeah.
put them in the best position for success.
Okay,
And so
then you
sometimes companies
decide
have a hard time thinking about that. We'll help
where
them
to
with
put that person.
that. Right.
Okay.
Or
But-
maybe we should train them or cross-train them.
Okay, maybe I don't understand the business, but the people that you are training, like when I see a group there,
Right.
are they all? Do they all know about software? Not necessarily, right?
No,
Because
no.
some of them don't look like they are developers at all.
No.
So they are from different backgrounds, right?
Right. So
That's what my feeling was. Yeah.
you have the right feeling. You have
Yeah.
the right feeling. Like, for example, this last course that just wrapped up
Yeah.
a couple days ago
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Yeah.
We had someone from operations with a major gaming company. We had a couple folks that were working in the pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
biotech.
Yeah.
We had a couple people from a bank, and one person from the bank was on the operations side, the other person was on the IT side.
Oh.
We had someone from an insurance company that's on the requirement side and looking at it from the product analysis standpoint. So yes, there's people from many different industries, and then within the industries, many different departments within a company.
Oh, wow. I mean, this is really beyond my understanding because I've never been a project manager. But I was wondering, when they graduate, the person is a project manager, right?
Well, they may be a project manager already.
Oh, they might be. And then they have their own team then.
Yes, they probably have their own team.
And then with their own team, they try to they learn from you and they try to implement it with the team.
Correct.
Got it. So it's also about not just knowledge, technical knowledge, it's about also managing.
It's definitely about the soft skills. It's definitely about being able to have empathy.
With the employees?
Yes. Being able to resolve conflict.
Oh.
Being able to manage stakeholders and make sure that they're engaged at the right level.
Okay.
Right? It's there is a lot of that. The boot camps aren't geared towards that. So anybody that's taking a boot camp anywhere across the U.S. For let's say PMP or Agile, Lean Six Sigma, it's geared strictly to teach them the content knowledge so that they can pass the exam. That's it. And so what we bring during these boot camps is a little bit of flair in terms of not only this is how you can pass the exam quickly, but this is how you can take this knowledge and now actually utilize it from day one. You can go back to your companies now and begin to implement this and begin to work with your teams and realize sort of the benefits of this particular methodology, be it PMP or Scrum. There's some people who are interested in that, this growing field, or Six Sigma.
Yeah, so let's take a specific example. Let's say I'm a manager of a group. How do you give constructive criticism? Is it better to ignore it, or is it better to get that person to work with someone else?
You never want to ignore. It's that you're in. So in this scenario, it always really depends. First, is it a new group, or has that group been together for a while?
Oh, okay.
Right, so that's one factor that you want to take into account. The second factor would be what sort of your rapport with that particular individual. How formal or informal can you be with that person? Right? You should know the boundaries on each side.
No, but if you don't want that person to take it personally, you can tell that person, hey, why don't you work with that person to be better yourself? Or, I mean, suggest they work together.
Well, and that's the whole goal. The whole goal is to always collaborate with your team. Your whole goal is as a manager, is to sort of to be a servant leader.
Okay.
What can I do for you that's going to make your job easier?
Oh.
What can I do for you that's going to make you have better results? It's going to make your life happier.
You are the go-to person.
That's the hope that, as all of us that we have for our superiors, that they're servant leaders for us. But that's what we teach, and that's the goal.
how about if they're afraid to come to you because they're afraid to to show they don't know something, so then they won't be looked at the same way by you because you're the manager, right? So they might hesitate to come to you because they want to be looked up to, or
Right.
so there's a little bit of, or they're afraid that you might think they're not qualified or something, so they might go to their coworker instead. No.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I think some of it is perception. Some of it is your ability to sort of notice that within a person. Can you see it within their body language, their tone of voice, the eye contact, maybe how they speak to you versus when they speak to the rest of the team?
Okay.
Can you tell if what's going on emotionally? So that sort of emotional intelligence or emotional IQ, as some companies will call it.
Okay.
There's a part of that. The other part of it is maybe let's look inward as managers and let's say, how do we come across more approachable?
How to
Right,
become more
exactly.
friendly.
So it's not always trying to work on others, but sometimes how do we work on ourselves so that people are
So
comfortable?
people are comfortable to ask you questions.
Right.
So that they never, when you approach them, no matter what the question, you always think it's a good question.
Right. There's no bad question.
There's no such a thing as a bad question.
And I know that's a cliche term, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
truth.
But that's the manager job to always think, oh, you got that's a good question.
Yes.
You start always. That's a good question.
Even during the boot camps, there's times where people will ask a question and you
That's
can
a very
see
good
others,
question.
You can see in other spaces where they're sort of like, really, did you ask that? But for that person, it's a good question because if you don't know, well, then how are you going to know? You should ask. That's sort of the thought process. At least, if you want to be able to adapt someone's level of thinking, well, you have to know what they're thinking, and hopefully that you will encourage them to ask questions because that'll let you know what they're thinking. And you can course correct.
Because I've seen presenter at Salesforce integration, and there's, let's say, a group of 70 people, and each time someone say a question, the presenter always say, oh, that's a very good question, no matter what the question is. So they want to encourage questions.
Right.
So no matter what the question is, oh, they say, that's a very good question.
Well, there's a fine line. There's a fine line between
a standard answer and...
Well, not a standard answer, but just always saying it's a good question, just for the sake of saying it. I mean,
Okay.
there's times where, the crowd's going to be able to tell, if you're genuine or not.
Yeah.
So if you genuinely feel like it's a good question, well, then you should say it. But if not, you maybe hesitate from it. But if you're a good enough speaker...
Maybe just answer without saying it's a good question.
Right. There's times where you just need to do that,
Okay,
if you have great content, you're a good speaker, you can get away with that sometimes, but it's in your best
because
interest not to.
there's different levels of people in the group of 70 people, right?
Right.
So some people might know a lot about what the speaker's talking about, and some people don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Right.
But they still ask questions, right? But I think maybe the secret is that to be understandable by all, no matter what the level. Like, I walk into the meeting and I don't know anything. And another person walk into the meeting and they already have like 10 years experience. But no matter what the question is, the speaker is going to adapt his speech so that everybody understands him.
Right.
No matter what.
See the word? Adaptive?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he's not going to talk only to the group of people who has 10 years experience. He's going to talk to everybody.
Right. And that's the whole goal. And I mean, and that's I sort of pointed that out, how you used the word adaptive. I mean, that's where we came up with the name. I mean, creative adaptive thinking. I mean, it's in the moment as well. It's in the moment as well as you're working with people. Can you sort of think a little bit ahead of what you're speaking at the same time? And can you take in feedback from the group and sort of know maybe this section of people here, they're not understanding it, but this group is here. So then how do you maybe shift and work with this group and keep them okay that we're going to take a little bit longer, but we're going to make sure that these people are satisfied as well. And it's a balance that you're sort of playing the whole time.
Okay, so when the company sends you a group, do they tell you their levels?
I'll ask.
Oh, you do.
I'll ask what they think the level of their company is in terms of project management maturity, and I'll question them on what their current processes are. What I want them to sort of take me through your project, walk me through. I want to sit in your shoes, and sometimes I'll have them speak, and I may just close my eyes. I may close my eyes because I just want to hear. I want to absorb everything. I want to picture myself in their shoes and sort of understand their daily process, and then that'll help me to sort of figure out where I'm gonna go next.
Wow, that's awesome. So your class is 6 hours a day for 4 days.
Yeah, we go 8:30 to 6 p.m. That's not a hard
Oh,
time. Some
okay.
groups we'll
There's
go
a
over
line.
because there's a lot of questions.
So it's 8 hours a day.
Yeah, some groups we may end at 4:30, 5 o'clock. It all depends on the group.
Oh, how many questions you get at the end of the day?
Right, or just throughout how fast we're moving. I have a general idea of where I want to stop on a particular day.
Okay.
And when we arrive there, sort of when we arrive there, it's my goal to manage it so that we don't go beyond 6 o'clock. But there are some times that we do, and the classes that go beyond are typically okay. They're highly engaged. They're asking a lot of questions. They're really enjoying it.
Oh,
So in
they
that
like their
sense, they're
job.
okay, right? Because I mean, most folks are working while they're taking this boot camp, so
Oh,
they're still responding to emails. They're having to, text message. They may step out and take some phone calls, in between the class. So a lot of people have a vested interest to get home. They're tired. They're falling behind in work, and they still have to study for this. So the classes that run beyond 6 o'clock, it's because they're truly enjoying what's happening, and they're okay with staying.
oh, I see. I see. So basically, the first day you tell them what they're gonna get during the whole 4 days,
Yes.
and then day by day you move them toward the goal of graduating. And what's the graduation? A certificate?
Yeah, you get a certificate of contact hours. They're required for
Oh,
PMI.
there is a
Yes.
number of hours required. How many?
Yes, 35.
35 hours
35
required to
hours.
get that certificate.
Yes.
And what's the certificate says?
The certificate says that they've achieved their 35 hours, so it's pass or fail.
Okay.
It's not necessarily you must pass an exam.
No.
It is just your 35 contact hours.
Okay.
They will take a practice exam. We'll
Okay.
do a live mock exam that will simulate what you would experience when you go take the real exam.
It's a practical. You mean oral?
No, it's multiple
Oh, it's
choice.
written. It's
200
written.
questions, yes.
Oh, it's
4
written.
hours.
Oh, there is an exam.
Yes, it mirrors the PMP exam.
Ah.
Yes.
So it's pretty serious if there's an exam.
Very serious. People take their score seriously. I mean, especially here in the Bay Area, San Francisco specifically, and people are so competitive, and so, they really want to score well. They want to do well in these exams. Yes.
What's the success rate?
98%.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
That means during those 4 days, they really learned what you want them to learn.
That's our goal. Now, I mean, there's a certain number of people that
Don't show
may
up.
not respond, and
Yeah.
so if you have a class of 18 to 20 people, maybe 14 people let you know whether they passed or failed.
Okay.
So there's always a small percentage, 10, 20%, that maybe they didn't take the exam, maybe they didn't let you know. There is a guarantee. We offer a guarantee.
Is there sometime for the 2% a language barrier?
Yes, I think, well, ask your question again.
Okay, let's say you have a group of 18 people.
Yes.
The 2% they're gonna fail. Is it because of they're from a foreign country or with a foreign language?
No, I don't think so.
That's not it.
That's not it. This exam is a very difficult exam. There are people who just aren't test takers.
Okay.
I mean, when's the last time you sat down for a 4-hour exam that was 200 questions long?
It's 1996.
Right. So I mean, there's a level of practice, if you will, that you have to do to obtain this. You have to know test taking strategies. You have to know the content that we give you in the 4 days, and then it's your job as a student to sort of memorize. There's 33% brute memorization, memorizing formulas.
Oh, they have
memorizing
to
the
learn
processes.
at home and review.
Right.
And what's the age groups usually? 35 to 50 or?
Oh man, so the majority of folks fit into two categories, sort of that 30 to 40 and 40 to 50 area.
Oh, 30 to 40. Okay. And then after they get the certificate, do they get a promotion at work?
Well, for many people, holding the
do?
credential means
They
a
do?
promotion. It means a bump in pay. It means
Yeah?
you're eligible for jobs you otherwise weren't.
Ah.
You need this credential if you want to work with the federal government. Here in California, the state is now sort of adopting this thing where
Asking?
you need to have a PMP credential.
Oh, wow.
So that's why the demand is so high.
So you do work with federal agencies?
Yes, I will have. I have not worked with a federal agency yet.
Yeah, but you will.
But I've had federal agencies send their employees to my class.
Okay.
But I haven't done an on-site class at a federal agency.
Oh,
So any of
so
you federal governments out there, you know, I'm available if you need it.
okay. So now it's a requirement to get to the next level in their promotion.
Yes.
Okay, and even though the company pays for it, they still want them to take it. I
Right.
mean, they will still give them the promotion even if they are paying for it.
Right. Right. And I mean, as they should. I mean, most companies, you know,
If you
your
fall,
employees are that's your best, that's your bread and butter. That's
asset,
what you
yeah,
have. Right.
yeah. So if you train them better, they'll do a better job. Is
Right.
that the idea?
That's the idea.
Okay.
I believe is it Branson who
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson and his quote was you want to train people so that they're good enough to leave you, but you want to treat them so good that they don't.
Oh.
Now I'm paraphrasing. I may have
Oh,
botched
okay.
that one, but that's the idea.
Okay.
And so the companies that send their employees here and they're paying for that, well, that's why those folks are happy and they stay. And
Yeah, he also say if you treat your employees well, then they will treat the customers well.
which would be good for business, and it's sort of synergy all the way around.
Yeah, yeah. He didn't say treat the customer well. He said treat your employees well.
Right.
So, which is a very good philosophy because if the employees are happy, then when the customers are calling, they'll be more helpful to the
Right.
customers, kind of thing. Because he has all kinds of businesses.
So you know, Branson, did I get that quote right?
I know the one I told you.
Okay.
The one where he said, if you treat your employees right, then they'll take care of your customer
Okay.
well. So first, take care of your employees. That's what he said. Okay. So yeah, I do know him. I met him in person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he came to give a speech, but that was when he just landed in California with a suitcase and he got his first funding, and he came with nothing to California and he left with $1 million funding for his company, and he gave a speech at a group, and that was like over 20 years ago. But now he made it super big. I'm sure he doesn't give speeches like that anymore because he's worldwide kind of thing.
Well, he had the right philosophy, right ideas. So.
Yeah, but I was sitting just like next to him when he was standing up and speaking to the group. But he is a very good motivator.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Would make sense.
entrepreneur. He trains now other people to become billionaires, not millionaires. So like people would go meet him at his island, and he would kind of give them some ideas on how they can move from multimillionaire to billionaires, and he will tell them what to do.
So I need to sign up for his class.
Oh yeah, you do, because you're already a millionaire, right? I mean, almost getting there. So yeah, he's pretty good, but he's all over the internet. So if you want some ideas,
Right.
you can always have access to his material. He's also a very smiling and cheerful person. Is that important for a manager to be optimist and smiling and not to be somber? He has to be a people person, right?
I think so. I mean, I think it's definitely important that that you're aware of how your disposition is going to affect your team.
Yeah, you gotta
So-
be cheerful.
Right. You've got to show that, you know, that there's a fight, if you will. You know, it's an uphill battle. I always say that the path towards perfection is more important than perfection itself.
Yeah.
And that path, you know, can it's a grind. You know, it can be difficult on some days. And so, if
Yeah.
you're sort of at a place where you're every day you live for it, you get up for the challenge, your team will follow you.
Yeah.
You know, if it's truly in you and that passion, it will spill out.
Yeah, and also some people are naturally charismatic,
Yes.
and some people are naturally not. They're more
Yes.
into introvert, you know.
Yes.
So it's better as a manager to be extrovert, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think some leaders are born, some leaders are taught. And I
Okay.
think that you can be an introvert and still be a great leader.
Really,
I think you could be an extrovert and be a bad leader.
really.
Yes,
Ah.
I think so. I mean, I think that it ultimately comes down to one, how you treat people.
Yeah.
Two, how you communicate your vision.
And how people can approach it.
Right. How people can approach you, and then you know, are you putting them in position to be successful? Do you believe in something? People believe they want to believe in something. They want to believe in you. And so what do you see? What's your vision? Do you believe in that vision? And if people believe in what you believe in, well, then that's your recipe for success.
That's true. Yeah, I remember the CEO of Intel. He said, Chief Executive Officer. job is to be the chief listener, because he has to listen to all the people who want to talk to him, approach him with their ideas, right? So he has to be a listener, even if he heard the idea before, right?
Right, right.
But it's very important to listen to what your employees have to suggest or want to talk to you about. Maybe one of them will have a brilliant idea.
Exactly.
So you never know.
That's one of the things, I focus in on during the 4-day training.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a part of the exam, but it's one of the nuggets I like to give out. And I let the students know I don't take credit for any of this.
Yeah,
This is a
you
group, and I'm
learned
just passing the knowledge on.
Yeah.
I'm just passing it on. And one of those things is listening, being an active listener. Many times we're quick to finish someone's sentence.
Oh, yeah.
We think we know what they're going to say, and we have the answer.
That's
or
my
solution.
problem. That's my problem. People say I interrupt people.
you just gotta sort of take a step back and understand it, and sort of like, instead of looking at the 95% that you think you already know,
Oh, okay.
search for the 5% that might help you.
Okay, yeah, because if you're a CEO, you probably know everything, but there's that person who's going to really make a difference in the group, right?
It's knowing what you don't know, which is most important.
Yeah, exactly. So come on in and tell
None
me.
of us know everything.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
may be domain experts, but
Yeah, I have that problem with my kids. They always say, I know that. And they say, how many times are you going to tell me that? I know that. And that really kind of upset me, because I feel like I'm telling them everything I tell them. They know that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's human nature to say, oh, I already know that.
Right.
So you have to learn what you don't know. Something.
Maybe what do they really mean by that?
Yeah.
You might say, I know that, but what do you mean by that?
Yeah, and I tell them, did you listen to what I said? I know they don't know everything. Yes. So, well, that's another thing. As a parent yourself, you are their project manager. You are the manager.
Well, I've learned that kids think they know it all, and my wife knows it all.
Yeah.
So
you have
I know nothing.
So they come to you anyway, right? I
Well,
mean, they know it all, right? Okay, so it was very interesting. I totally misunderstood initially what your company was about. I thought you do creative marketing, but anyway, it's interesting what you do. So I look forward to maybe bump into you, even though you always stay in the conference room.
Yes, we're that close. I can't
Yeah.
believe we haven't seen each other. But like I said, I thought I saw you.
Yeah. So it's the past 6 or 7 months that this group have been coming.
Yes.
Okay, so that's you. Okay, so I hope I covered everything. If there's something I didn't cover, let me know.
No, I think the goal here was to
let me know what
introduce
you
to the
do,
company,
yeah.
and we've been able to do that. You know what I do personally, and I would just like to take a moment to sort of again, push forward project management. So those who don't know about it, research it, and it's not just the PMI's PMP credential, but look into Agile, look into Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma. Those of you project managers out there, become practitioners and try different things on your project, and visit us at creativeadaptivethinking.com. If there's anything that we can help out, we'll do it.
Okay, one last question people get confused about. There's project manager and product manager.
Yes.
What's the difference? I know I always wanted to know the difference.
Okay, so let's start on the product side. Product managers are looking at requirements. So product managers sort of act as a proxy owner for let's say, this microphone.
Yeah.
I may go out and look at all the other competitors and say, what are my competitors doing?
Oh.
What materials are they using for the base? For maybe this foam around it.
Oh,
Where are they
that's
sourcing
product
it from?
manager.
And then I would go to and I would say, well, what are the people in the industries using? What are people in TV using versus radio versus maybe people who are doing live performances, concerts, singing versus maybe comedy?
So he knows all the components.
Well, hopefully he or she is done all that research, and then maybe what are we trying to build? Because sometimes people don't know what they want.
Okay.
So you have to sort of be the expert in all things microphones.
Let's do something better.
And yes, exactly. And then you'll define what those requirements are. That's what a product manager is. So they'll determine which features and functions are the most important. How do we prioritize and do
now
that
I understand.
The project manager is just, okay, now that we have your requirements, how do we define the scope of what that is, what it isn't, how we do it, and how we get sign off? And then how do we break down that work so that we can figure out what these deliverables are. Take a big problem, make it into a little problem. People have a dynamic picture in their head, this fluid sort of motion picture.
So once they know what the product is going to be, then they pass it on to the project manager.
Potentially, yes, depending on what type of methodology you're using. But yes, they will define the requirements out, and the project manager will be able to take those requirements and break it down in a scope and figure out the activity, sequence it, develop a schedule, get a budget, quality requirements, all the different things.
Wow, that's interesting. So sometimes there's two of them in the same company then.
Yes, which is a good thing.
Okay.
You want somebody who can manage the project. You want somebody who can manage the product.
Okay.
Because your product, you may have 5 or 6 projects to add different features and functions to your product, or maybe different products in a line or a series of
So
products.
it starts with the product manager and then it moves on to the project manager. Or not really?
Not really. You could say it starts with or it all starts with the company's strategic plan.
Okay.
What is the company looking to do? They may have multiple product owners for different, there may be a product owner for the foam on this microphone.
Okay.
And there may be a product owner for the bass.
Ah, okay.
Right? So there's different bases and how are they made? Maybe the ergonomics
So
of the
different
bass.
different product.
Right.
And then the project will put it together?
Yeah, the project manager will be able to put that together. And you may have multiple project managers and maybe a program manager that's overseeing all these projects that are strategically aimed towards one goal, or maybe a portfolio manager that says within this arm, R&D or finance or human resources, this particular product, this is where we're funneling resources. So it's a concert. And different companies may call a project manager, may use the term project manager, but the job function is different than at another company. So again, the field of project management is in such an infancy that, we know what a supervisor is, and then you can just figure out what vertical you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're a supervisor at a Walmart or a Home Depot, right? You know what that is, but
A supervisor is different than the project manager.
yeah, than a project
Totally,
manager. But
totally.
a project manager for Apple is going to be different than a project manager than, let's say, for Gensler, which is an architecture and design firm.
Oh, of course,
So
yes.
I mean, they and one may have an extreme level of control in terms of how am I going to spend the money and which people or resources am I going to use,
Oh,
and then the other may not. The other may just be tracking a budget that was handed to them.
okay.
So I mean, it's so different in every company.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it could be an architect, then he knows how to understand the other architects, and it could be totally different field. Then you still have to have the skill of a manager.
Right.
Okay, now I understand a lot better. So thank you so much for being here, Cecilio.
Thank you for having me.
And is Cecilio a Spanish name? No.
Yes.
Oh.
So my mom is from Panama. My dad is from Costa Rica. So Spanish
Interesting.
is their first language.
Oh, so happy Cesar Chavez
Oh,
Day.
thank you.
There's a gathering at the Civic Center Plaza, and here they have a day off on Thursday to celebrate Cesar Chavez.
Should get a day off. I didn't even know.
Yeah, they have a day off here.
Listen to that.
I didn't know there's such a thing existed, but in this outfit at Vivac, they have a day off. But anyway, I don't know if the celebration at Civic Center is today or tomorrow, but I know they celebrate it.
Okay.
It's a huge, like thousands of people, all the Hispanics, I would say.
Yes.
I don't know if you have been to it, but you have been so recently here, probably not.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't been to one of those celebrations yet.
Yeah, so Easter, Cesar Chavez, it's all happening. So everybody's so busy. So it has been a pleasure interviewing you. I can see that you are very open to my sometimes not so intelligent questions, but at
Oh,
least
stop
you clarified us. You clarified me at least. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so